All right. Give me 1 second. I think I see Charlie. All right. Assalamu alaikum, ISCJ and South Brunswick community. We are live on ISCJ YouTube TV, and we appreciate everyone's patience. We are sorry about running a few minutes late, but we are about to get started now. So thank you again for everyone's patience. We're very excited. We're very honored to have special guests today. Since the quarantine has happened about 20 days ago, ISCJ has been providing daily programming on a lot of different variety of topics, obviously religious topics, but also we've been providing medical updates, we've been providing mental health updates, we've been doing programs on nutrition and fitness, we even did a cooking seminar. So we're doing all these other cool, different, exciting things. We've been trying to, we know that our mayor and our police chief and the municipal employees of this township, of this great township, have been busy during this COVID-19 period. And we don't want to bother them too much, but we're very honored that they were able to carve out some time for us, the community, the broader community, and they're joining us today. So first we have the Honorable Mayor Charles Carley. Welcome, Mayor. We're going to get you. If you have the video ability, Charlie, if you can enable it. If not, we can hear you though. I just heard you, so that's great, fantastic. That's a thumbs up for me because I heard you. And then we have Chief Ray Hayducka. Thank you for Chief for joining us today. And then of course we have our beloved Imam Hamad Shibli, who's always with us spiritually and in our hearts, and now virtually, almost on a daily basis here with the community here in South Brunswick. So welcome everyone. I really first want to, I welcome the Chief, I've welcomed the Mayor, but I want to give our Imam Shibli, our spiritual leader of ISCJ, Islamic Society of Central Jersey, a warm welcome to the community and a warm welcome to Chief Hayducka and Mayor Charlie.
First of all, Brother Arif, I like to thank you through the Islamic Society of Central Jersey by the service. We went a little bit ahead of some other places to have the media every day. And that is a credit will go to you and your team. And you are serving not only the ISCJ, but you are serving your community in South Brunswick. And on behalf of the Islamic Society of Central Jersey, I'd like to welcome our two respected friends, our beloved mayor and our beloved chief of the police. They visited us. Yeah, they visit us many times, in a good time and a bad time in ISCJ. We have been living with this kind of friendship and put our hand and our heart together, and nothing will separate us from at all. Yes, I speak every day, but I like to be today silent completely. I like to hear our chief of the police. How is our road? How is our people? How is our people, coming to support us in the masjid? And from the point of the mayor, yes, you are in charge. As you know, you are in charge not only religiously, when we have the Thanksgiving in all those churches and synagogue together, but you are in charge for your people. We like to hear from you. How can ISCJ and other places, synagogue, churches, local in South Brunswick, include Finnegan Lane, extend our hand to our township to work together 24 hours. And thank you for appearing with us in this ISCJ-TV to serve our community.
Thank you, Imam. You really should talk a little bit more through this. I could listen to you read the phone book, for Pete's sakes. The things that the community at ISCNJ can do is what everyone has already been doing. Basic things that you've heard a million times: wash your hands, social distance, stay at home to the extent you can. I would like to thank the ISCNJ community. I'm sure the chief will express this thanks. Early on in this crisis, the community, I'm assuming, sat down around together and said, we have to get out in front of this, and suspended activities in terms of communal activities. You're doing remote activities, but you suspended communal activities. And that speaks towards all the things you've been hearing nationally and locally about flattening the curve, giving the hospitals the chance to respond in a competent manner to those people that ultimately will end up getting sick. So my best advice is, number one, always in South Brunswick, listen to the chief. Number two, stay well informed. We have a lot of media outlets. Stay well informed, understand what's going on, whether it's Nixle, sbtnj.net, and all the other media outlets, and continue to be concerned, act appropriately, but never panic. The times right now are, you'll read the newspapers and you'll see some pretty dire numbers, but give it a couple of weeks, those numbers will get better. And like anything, we're faced with challenges now, but that's the nature of life. You have terrible challenges, you work together to get through them, and you come out to a better day.
Yes.
Chief?
Good evening.
Good evening.
ISCJ members, it's certainly an honor to always speak before you. It's the first time we're doing it remotely, but first and foremost, I want to thank the community for their support. As soon as we went into, I call it Corona mode, the first thing was the mosque sent over breakfast for my officers. You know, it's very limited where they can go, but you were thinking of us, and we sincerely appreciate that. You were the very first one. We had a lot of community support, but 2 days in a row, you really took care of my officers, and I do appreciate it. We're working around the clock. We've made some modifications. We're taking our social distance practices very serious. If you haven't subscribed to our nixle.com, please do so. We put out a message every day from the police. The mayor puts out a message every day. Our messages, what I could tell you, are factual. Our primary messages come from, one, CDC information, which we share every day on our conference calls with the New Jersey State Police, which is the ROC. All law enforcement gets together. We're putting out factual information, county OEM and state OEM. I urge everyone to be cognizant of rumors and false sites. Those are the best places you can get your information. I will give you a couple statistics, just a few things that have gone on. On March 10th, I'm very fortunate, I feel, as a community. We took this serious from the start. We started planning really before March 10th, but we had our first suspected case of COVID-19, where a mother and daughter who had worked at a party in Princeton, where several other people were exposed and later tested positive. That's how we believe it started in South Brunswick. It certainly could have started somewhere else, but that's the first one that was reported. We didn't wait for the positive test results. We immediately convened an OEM. We met with police, EMS, fire, schools, public work officials, and we knew we needed a unified course of action. Township, we met with OEM officials, and we started looking at materials and supplies. We were fortunate. We were well stocked. We do plan for emergencies. We were able to secure additional masks and surgical masks in order for our protection and protection of the public. We have altered township employees' work schedules, and we apologize for the inconvenience. Sometimes you may have to wait for a gun permit or a permit, but only essential people are working. However, there is a plan for everybody to check their emails. So something you could probably walk in and do. It may take you a week or so, but township government is up and working. Present to date, unfortunately, we've had 89 residents have tested positive for COVID-19, which per capita, we're actually doing pretty good in the county. Fortunately, we've seen our first 3 COVID-19 related deaths this week. A 7-year-old woman and her 33-year-old daughter. They passed away about 17 hours apart. There has been a 93% increase in first aid calls in the past week as compared to 3 weeks ago. So people are calling us with the flu-like symptoms. We changed some of our protocols. We will only go to first aid calls as law enforcement where it's an imminent threat of death. So if we are aware that somebody has flu-like symptoms, normally we would be the first one there. We have coordinated with EMS where they will respond. We will wait outside. If we do have to enter, we have all the personal protective equipment, but we are still responding, where we're just, our response is a little different. Proactive activity has stopped in a sense that we're not doing radar details, et cetera, but if there is a serious offense, we are still taking action. We're doing things differently, such as taking reports over the phone. For example, if someone broke into your car and you called up, normally you would get interaction with a police officer. For the resident's safety and our safety, we allow you to do that report online, which we've had that system for years. But if you don't have that capability, we will take that report right over the phone. Police department is also working with social services in order to make sure that anyone in need is fed. We partnered with social services, so people can pick up food 24 hours. They just have to come to the lobby, and it's prearranged. We have things packed for them. We will leave the box out. They call on the phone, we'll put the box out. We are limiting contact, once again, for the safety of the officer and the safety of the public. As you know, only essential businesses are allowed to be open. Food services, ShopRite, medical needs. Travel restrictions are in place, but we are encouraging the residents to stay home. Mass transit is available for essential workers only. I believe Mayor Carley put out a nixle yesterday with a schedule. If you had to change any patterns, they've changed. Also, manager would like me to report that tax deadlines, they have been extended. DMV expiration dates have been extended. We've had people call up saying my license is expired. It's really okay at this point right now. Just see the websites if you have any issues with that. Now, just for the future, we do expect the spread to continue for a short time and plateau. We're in contact every day with health officials. Once again, please, your social distancing, hygiene. You're going to use our township parks. We have no issue with that. I know the state and the county have closed down parks. The only difference in our parks now are the playground equipment. We've roped it off. We ask that you respect that, don't use it. But if you're going to walk and use the parks, once again, small groups, social distance. That's really all I have. If there's any questions, I just want to reiterate, we appreciate the support of the community and everything you've done for us.
Yeah, no, thank you, Chief, and thank you, Mayor, for your respective updates. We do have a series of questions that are coming in, but before I even get to those questions, I am getting a lot of messages of appreciation and gratitude. I'm reading them as I'm talking to you guys on a different machine here, and that's where I'm getting the questions from too. But the one thing that just stands out is the gratitude. There's so many thank you messages. Not only for the police department, but for all the municipal employees, right? Because, from public works to the people in the municipal building that are doing everything. We know it's not easy, and this is kind of a new normal, and everyone's trying to adjust on the fly and try to be still effective and efficient at the same time. So really thankful for that on behalf of the entire community for that. Thank you very much. So the other thing, Chief and Mayor, is Imam will tell you, we like to have some fun also. It's not always serious stuff. And we try to have some, some light questions, because we like to have fun too. It can't always be serious. So Mayor, the first question that came in was actually, they saw you in your kitchen and they're like, what did you cook today for dinner?
For dinner today, we had, which my son had made a nice deboned chicken a couple of days ago. We made some soup out of it. I had a little chicken soup with some bread. So it's pretty straightforward, pretty simple.
Wow.
My son, he's 15. He's a good cook now, so I depend on him to keep me nice and plump and jolly.
Well, that sounded really delicious, and I'm ready for like my second dinner now after hearing that. That's pretty cool. Mayor Charlie, can you give us some insight on what your daily interaction here is, maybe at the county and the state level? How does that information disseminate down to like the mayor?
The level of communication actually surprised me, because this is the first event like this I think any of us have lived through, and I'm impressed with the level of communication. that has come down through the governor's office, the county's office, and then has been disseminated through the police department. As you know, in South Brunswick, we rely on the police department through its Nixle portal to give us an awful lot of information. The one thing, if you're a citizen of South Brunswick, is you will never be underinformed or ill-informed. We've made it a practice for many, many years. People can live with bad news, but they can't live with no news. And make sure that the news you give them is fact-based. No, fancy news. And so even when we have bad news, we deliver it. The coordination between the state, the county, and the municipality, from my perspective, and I'll rely on the chief to add commentary to it because he's got a unique perspective. From my perspective, has been very good. We conference call with the governor's office once a week, a conference call with county leadership once a week, basically because we're a cooperative. What assets do you have in South Brunswick that can help us in Edison, say? What assets do we have in Woodbridge that aid in the total effort? Because some of the things that we have to do mutually, we can't do alone. And that's like anything in life, so I'll rely on the chief to add color to that.
Yes, we coordinate every morning. My morning starts out at usually 9:15 with a conference call. I come in usually early in the morning, 9:15. We have a statewide conference for law enforcement. We go over all the findings. As you know, the executive orders come out. The governor's doing an outstanding job, but sometimes he has to put these out and there's questions and there's interpretation and we get our answers. For example, a big one was, can car washes open? Or what are the limitations in park? We have to clarify those answers and we put that information out. So sometimes you'll see more than one nixle in a day. Mayor is correct. I'd rather give you more information than not enough. Another question we keep getting is, why doesn't South Brunswick run their own test site? But what I can tell you is the county, we have coordinated with the county. It's the county's actual site at DMV. It's going to be a corona test site for Middlesex residents starting on Friday. And there'll be a list out probably tomorrow for those that want to be tested. Obviously, you have to have symptoms or you're going to have a script and it'll be an appointment. But the further details will be out tomorrow. It'll be on Route 130 at DMV. But I've had many residents say, can't we just set one up? The reality is South Brunswick alone wouldn't have that ability. You need doctors, you need space, and you need a coordinated effort from all the individuals within the county. A county government has been outstanding, especially the OEM County Health. We can get in touch with them 24 hours a day. And that test site has come up and South Brunswick is doing their part. Middlesex County Sheriff's helping us. And obviously the county health department is running it. So residents will have closer access. There's plenty of other meetings we do have to meet with, as I'm the OEM coordinator, as in addition to the chief. We have every few days, we are in contact with everyone in OEM. And with that turns into meetings with our local EMS and fire. We're in constant communication just about daily. We're discussing what our needs are and whether it's equipment, personnel. There's just a very good cooperative effort.
Thank you, Chief. So specifically on the testing center, I'm glad that you brought that up because I had 2 or 3 related questions come into the chat related to the testing center. I think you addressed it, but let me just get some further clarity on that because it's good. I just learned that it's a county effort and the county coordination. So is it safe to assume that the county is the one limiting the hours, right? Because I think on the Nixle we saw that it's limited hours right now.
Yes.
And will those hours change maybe down the road?
It all depends on availability of tests.
Okay.
I believe they're going to be, last estimate was approximately 250 a day.
Okay.
But tomorrow we're going to have more details. We're still ironing it out. I never realized how much effort has to go into this. It's not like you just pop up, hey, let's have a test site.
Yeah.
The reality, it's not like just let's have a picnic, someone bring something. You need doctors, you need nurses, you need medical professionals. We're going to need an ambulance on standby, traffic control. I've spoken with some other agencies, some other law enforcement agencies that have been involved. You know, people have lined up as early as 3 a.m. So we're going to try and do the appointment method. Once again, more of the details will be out tomorrow, exactly what needs to take place. We're actually starting a setup at 10 a.m. tomorrow. But that just shows you at least 24 hours ahead of time, we have to get the ball rolling.
Okay, wow. Oh yeah, so there's a lot of complexities and layers that need to happen behind the scenes before we can take something public. So that makes sense. So I think you and the mayor was able to give us some good clarity on that. Thank you very much. Next question. On the news, we keep hearing about masks, right? And the mask and supply. How is the township doing from a supply? You know, besides masks, in addition to masks, is there anything that the township needs that maybe the community can come together and provide?
Right now, I think we're at about, we are well stocked on all, from a police and emergency responder. We're doing good with masks. I would certainly ask for donations, and quite frankly, we did get a lot of donations from pharmaceutical companies. We asked, some called us and asked us if we need it. We're very fortunate. We got supplies, and we do have a distributor that gave us a very fair price. There are people out there gouging. We had a very good distributor who was honest and fair. Right now, we are in good shape, but if we do, I assure you, I'm not shy about putting out a nixle requesting donations and masks. What I would recommend to do, though, on masks, some people are arguing, do we need it? Don't we need it? Look at the CDC guidelines. Those are your best sources. They are recommending a mask right now, even if it's just a bandana. They're not pushing the N95. Certainly, if you have an N95 mask, many do have them from their garage or their workshop, if they did work around the house. But you don't have to run out and get it, is my understanding from the CDC and the health officials. If you have some kind of mask, it's recommended at this time.
Yeah, and I believe, Chief, not to interject, that I think the governor had an executive order today saying that if you go out to, I guess, a grocery, you should be wearing a mask, where he'd like you to wear a mask, in addition to what CDC said. I think that maybe it was even more forthright than that, saying you have to wear a mask. So when you go to the grocery, et cetera, et cetera. And I think the gist of that isn't more for your own personal protection. Is if you're asymptomatic and you have coronavirus, it protects other people in the environment.
So, you know, on the grocery store stuff, there was two things. I think I just saw a headline today. I didn't get to fully read it, but is there some new rules around the like ShopRite and Stop and Shop where there's a limitation of how many people can attend?
Yeah. Yes, Executive Order 120 came out today. I believe we may have nixled that. A lot of reading, but to sum it up, they're only allowed at like half capacity. But I think ShopRite was taking the steps, and many are only allowing a certain amount of people in anyway. I do think the food panic is over from what I've seen from my patrols, actually going into the stores and seeing stores are well stocked. They're a little short on some of the cleaning supplies still, but food is coming in. We've been in contact with Stop and Shop and ShopRite. Outstanding businesses in town, very good to the community. And, you know, even the local small shops like the vegetable stands, they're well stocked. So the food panic seems to be over.
Good.
Imam, were you going to say something?
Yes, really, I like to say the people concerned about the food more than maybe the mask, sorry to say. But the chief said you can have the food in South Brunswick, 24 hours. That will make everybody happy with that. Alhamdulillah. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Chief.
Staying on the groceries topic, because I'm getting several questions on that here. Here's a question about, as a citizen, should we say or do something if we see somebody not following these rules? Like, what's the right way to do it? We don't want a confrontation or conflict either, but we want to make sure that residents are following the proper protocols, right? What's the best way? Whether we're at the grocery store or let's say we're at the Roland Park or Sondeck Park, and we see people going through the caution test. What should we do? Should we walk away, or should we be proactive?
I think the last thing you want is a confrontation. Call the police. Just call us. We're happy to come over and handle it. I mean, if you knew the kids that were doing it, certainly as a parent or an adult, you could address it. But if you're not familiar with them, just give us a call. We'll be happy to do it. Our call, believe it or not, our calls for service are really down, and I believe it's because people are staying in. Our officers are very visible out in public, but we'll be patrolling the parks. But if you see something, just like any, say something to us. You're never bothering us, just pick up the phone and call us. We will certainly come out. I mean, we had to do something that was very unpopular. I did as the OEM director. I said, take all the basketball backboards down.
Yeah.
A lot of kids were still playing basketball. I understand that. If I was a kid, I'd probably doing it. I wish I could go do it right now. But it's just, you can't have, 10 or 15 kids on a court right now, or even adults.
Yeah.
If you do see if a net does go back up, please call us and we'll make arrangements to make the situation safe.
Got it. Thank you, guys. At this point, what is the greatest need for the township? What do you guys need the community to do?
I would say that the community's just gotta keep doing what it's doing. That's pretty stressful on people day to day to be in their homes. I see we're all sort of cooped up. We've been sheltering in place more or less. We declared a state of emergency March 13th, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a while ago. The schools closed on the 11th, I believe. So we've all been cooped up. I remember being with the chief that week, early that week, and we were talking about what was coming up the pike. And we were talking about China. And I said, well, China, they have the luxury. They can shut down a city of 60 million and everyone's going to mind their P's and Q's. But here, we're not going to mind our P's and Q's. I've been very surprised pleasantly that when you take a drive in your car around for an hour or so, people are respecting what they're hearing. They're taking it seriously. We're actually doing, I think, a better job than we would have given ourselves credit for at the beginning of March, the end of February. And that goes towards, having a better result than we ordinarily would have had. We don't know how it'll ultimately turn out, but we could have had just a terrible, terrible result. But people are doing what they can. They're sheltering in place mostly and doing the social distancing. I don't see people crowding each other in the stores or in the parks. And people are just acting sensibly and they're acting courteously and they're not panicking. So that's really job number one for each of us, to ourselves, our families, and our neighbors, just to use our heads, be concerned, and not panic. Chief?
Yeah, I concur with everything the mayor said. And, we've had very few calls and complaints about people violating the orders. I don't have the actual numbers, but I could estimate it probably under 10. And quite frankly, usually it's confusion on the rules. It was in the beginning. People didn't understand exactly what it meant. We got one complaint, and I happened to be there and go to the call. One place where a person was sitting in a pizzeria. Well, he really wasn't eating. He was just sitting there waiting for his food. He was the only one in there, with the exception of the gentleman making the pizza and somebody in the back. So that really wasn't a rule violation. Somebody came out and thought they shouldn't have been in there. But really, for the most part, the residents have been outstanding. And anything, what everyone can do is just follow the guidelines.
Yeah. Hey, Chief, let me ask a question here. With everyone, how many tickets have been given out for speeding or anything this month in the past 3-4 weeks?
Zero.
Zero. Wow. All right, we got to keep
a big revenue problem.
There's been one car stop, and that was because we thought the person was a danger. Listen, we're not going to ignore some dangerous situation. Fortunately, there's just not as many cars on the road.
That's crazy.
One car that we did stop, it was actually a cell phone issue. The person was lost. They thought there was, signs of intoxication. They said, no, I'm just looking at my phone. Sorry. We're given a verbal warning and let go. And, listen, there's a time and a place to take enforcement action. There's plenty of motor vehicle violations. We're busy on the roads under normal circumstances. Now is not the time we want to take an enforcement approach. We want to take an education approach if we do have to do it. Now, it's not a ticket. Now, it's not a free ticket to say, hey, let's drag race. But dangerous situations we're going to address. But, if somebody's going a few miles over the limit, we're not going to stop them at this time.
Brother Arif, give me 1 second, please.
Sure.
Mr. Chief, I think this story, by just giving the warning to the person who's carrying the cell phone, if I work on the media, this story is supposed to be tomorrow in the first headline, in the New York Times. And I will tell you why. One of the state, the police stop a car, they find the driver is a doctor. Instead to give the doctor a ticket, he gave her a flower, said, you are in the first row, you are protecting our life, I will drive you to the hospital. Those sensitivity stories, when the resident heard about it, they will be applying the rule of the state of New Jersey on them more than, to give them a ticket. And I know that the mayor, he said, is a bad economy for South Brunswick not to have more tickets. God will give us, after Corona, more people
So many
will
tickets.
see the ticket and give them more tickets just to have a good revenue to the South Brunswick Township.
We don't write tickets for revenue, never. No, I'm serious. That's not what we do. We do it for
God
enforcement.
bless you. God bless you.
We joke about it, but most of the revenue from the tickets goes right to the state.
Yes, good.
Good to know.
That
Thank you.
story is excellent. Just to give them a warning, not to give them ticket. Yes, I appreciate that.
Mayor and Chief, are you still good with time? Because we still got a lot of questions here. Are you guys okay with to keep going?
Where else am I going?
That's what the governor said.
All right. So this is a question we asked Imam Shibli a couple of weeks ago. Just so you guys know, we do every Sunday night, we do 20 questions with Imam Shibli, right? And we have some fun. And he tells us all these great stories that we didn't even know. Like one day when he first came to South Brunswick, his first day, when he thought he was going to get hired at the mosque back in the early mid 80s, he told us how he took a flight from New Orleans on People Express Airlines. Remember that? And how he got here and no one was here to pick him up and he had to go back. Same flight, he just went back without anybody picking him up back on People's Express. So we're always finding out new things here. But one question that we asked him and he did not answer. So we're going to ask you guys, who is better, LeBron or Jordan?
Oh, that's a tough one.
And this
Jordan's
question
a player
is
from my youth.
This question is from Nancy. Nancy made a point to make me ask you guys. Nancy wanted to ask, she's like, ask the mayor and ask the chief, who's better, LeBron or Jordan?
I'm a big Jordan fan, so I'm going with Jordan.
All right, there you go. Charlie?
When I was a kid, Jordan was the big guy. So, you always remember the players from when you were a boy more fondly than when you're an adult. So I'm going with Jordan.
All right, cool. All right, so there we have it. It's been settled that Jordan is the greatest. Sorry for the LeBron fans. All right, back to some more serious questions here. Is at the mosque, we have conducted, since we've gone on this lockdown, off the top of my head, between 7 to 12 funerals. And nobody comes to the mosque, right? The imam and our funeral director, our licensed funeral director, are following all the rules and regulations, and the prayers conducted at the cemetery, and obviously the burial happens at the cemetery too. And there's also restrictions on the number of people that can go there. But can you guys talk to it from your perspective and what's happening in the cemeteries in this town? Have we run into any issues?
We've run into some issues, and we've obviously not, we have a lot of discretion, and we're going to exercise all the discretion possible. A lot of time it's just education and speaking, and once again, the problems were in the beginning. We do monitor it, and once again, the last thing we want to do is write a ticket for it, but we're hopeful that everyone will continue to comply. We understand that's a very emotional state. What I will tell you is you won't see us breaking up any funerals. We'll address it in the most professional and discreet way possible. generally, if it were an issue, we would address it with the owner of the cemetery or the funeral. But I believe we have a good handle on that and educated everyone, and we have a good understanding now.
One of the questions that's coming from our funeral director is, and I'm not familiar with it, but I guess there's a permit for burials and the process and procedure around it. And right now with the municipal building closed or essential employees, would a permit turnaround time take long? You know, like what would right now in the new normal, what would the turnaround time be for a burial permit, particularly for a fetus? You know, I'm getting very specific because the question is very specific. Because the reason they're asking that is because they ran into an incident, not in South Brunswick, because, you know, he provides service in the area, but he ran into a neighboring town where it took 2 weeks, and it put a lot of undue stress and anxiety on the family because they had to wait 2 weeks to get that permit. And I can only imagine the anxiety around that. But is that something that you guys can talk to? Would it take that long, or?
I would have to defer to the mayor. I don't believe there's a need for a permit for a burial. I guess the cemeteries handle. They have a protocol.
Yeah,
I'm not familiar with, but if there's a permit issue with anything, you know, certainly contact us. If we, you know, we're doing everything we can to still service the residents. I know the building department still was able to get out. My big permit issue is firearm permits. We've set the young lady up that handles them. She's doing a lot of them at home. Interestingly enough, we get about 300 firearm permits a year. We had 80 in the last 2 weeks. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think I've read a lot of articles and seen on the news where there has been an increase in permits.
Maybe the mayor could answer that one better. He would have a better insight into that.
was this firearms or
Burial permits? I don't believe it.
burial permits? I would think, and I'll check with our registrar, that our turnaround is very quick. South Brunswick, if you think about it, has a lot of burial ground cemeteries of all faiths, and
Yeah.
some of the faiths have requirements that necessitate speedy turnaround. So I would expect that your turnaround would be on the order of a business day, and I don't think that there's anything that really, even with this crisis, would get in the way of that. So I'll take a look at it and get back to you on the backside tomorrow. I'll check with our registrar and see what their turnaround time is, but I would expect that to be a business day.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
And if anyone does have a problem, by all means, you could, I always say I'm 7-day week chief. I answer my emails every day. It makes life easier for me. If I could, even if I say I've got your email and I'll get back to you, or I could send it to somebody. So if there was an office, I have all the department heads' contacts, and they've been showing up, and I've been in contact with just about every department head over an issue. And to get to the clerk's office would be very easy if somebody have an issue.
Well, I can definitely testify that the chief will answer emails 7 days a week in the middle of the night, because we've done it many times over the years. So really, that's just the type of chief we have, the best chief in the country.
Brother Arif,
Yes.
today I have the experience that Mr. Mayor and Mr. Chief talking about the permit. I deal with the health department since 1986, as you know, for the marriage only, not for the death. And I talked to the person who handled the case. She gave me the advice, and really they are responding from South Brunswick Township. The minute you call, you will find somebody, and this has happened today to me before noon prayer about some paper for the marriage, and I get the answer which I suspect to have it, and they are there for us.
Good.
So that's good news, not surprising. Mayor Charlie, here's a question here. In the grocery stores, we've seen a lot of the plexiglass and the new see-through barriers, I guess, right? That's the best wording I could come up with it. And it seems like a good precaution. Do you have any leeway to make that mandatory at a municipal level in the applicable establishments, retail establishments or businesses?
I do not believe so. We can check through the Department of Law. That would probably be through the Uniform Construction Code. Now, I would imagine, I've heard anecdotally that the employees at those establishments and the unions that represent the employees were over the last couple of weeks have been expressing an awful lot of concern to ownership management, and have impelled ownership management to put those plexiglass panels up. And you'll go around town and you'll see some retail establishments and some grocery establishments that have been closed down, not because they don't have access to supply chains, but the employees have been concerned about their own well-being and have said, we're going to take a knee for a couple of weeks. We're not really interested in harming ourselves. What do you got, Chief? Oh, someone walked by you.
No, Deputy Chief just walked by. Another phone with OEM, or I'm sorry, with EMS.
Yeah, but we'd have to look at the construction code. I don't know if we could do a local ordinance, but if it was ever challenged, whoever challenged it would probably prevail. But we could look into it.
Okay, no, that's good. So can either of you give us more visibility into other unsung heroes in the township? We know the police department, we know the public works, we know the EMT, we know the fire department. Are there any other essential workers in the township that we should be aware of and just recognize and appreciate?
I think
I'd really like to recognize the schools. All they're doing, they're still educating. And, I love going in the morning and nights and talking to my officers before briefing. And they all said that the teachers should get their pay doubled because they have to actually sit there and do the lessons. And, they said they never realized with the teacher, they have, 2 or 3 kids in the house. And they said, how do they teach 25 and 30 kids? So I think all the teachers in South Brunswick, and especially at the Islamic school, they really deserve our praise. Everything they do, and they're still doing it. And I believe it's probably harder by them doing it online.
Yeah, and they're still feeding kids that need lunches, et cetera, et cetera. So they're still fulfilling their mission to the best they can. And having a 15-year-old who's in the high school, I can testify that they're doing a pretty good job. I'm surprisingly good job, given the challenges and how quick that to ramp up. I think they ramped up over the course of 3 days.
Yeah.
They did a very good job that way. I hate to give the that branch of government any credit for things, but I have to give them credit.
Yeah,
they've been fantastic. Really think is just the community. I mean, nobody wants anyone to go without food, and our food pantry was low, and people were concerned, especially with people not working. The community raised over $30,000 for the food pantry. We are well stocked on food right now. And community, they're heroes. What they did, South Brunswick strong. They step up in prices always.
Absolutely. Hashtag South Brunswick strong, as we saw in the Nixle. So, Chief, what you said that we're well stocked with the food pantry. So, but whenever there's a need, you guys will let us know through the Nixle, and hey, it's time. We're depleted.
Yes.
And
Absolutely. I mean, I've seen the community step up. It was overwhelming this time. Brought volunteers in. We had to give them personal protective equipment to help, and we had more than we could handle at this time.
Yeah.
May go down in a couple of weeks because we are seeing an increased demand, and we got a great social services system. We don't turn anyone away. We're not asking questions. I believe everyone that needs it, they need it. And we've even gone as far as some people, we've been delivering it, our transportation system, and I have some of the officers on certain situations, they're just delivering it.
Okay.
The
community really stepped up.
Yeah. Another aspect of the community that's been great in terms of poking us and offering us assets has been the business community. As the chief mentioned earlier, we have a robust pharmaceutical manufacturing industry in town, and they've offered personal protective equipment to the chief and the first aid squads. the hotels have contacted us and have advised us that if it gets to it, if there's a need for lodging for medical personnel who are at the area hospitals, that they'll provide it. We've been contacted by owners of office buildings who said that if it comes to it and there's national players that come into the area who need office space, they'll provide it. So the business community's been pretty good in terms of stepping forward and saying, these are the assets we can spare. And we've been assiduous in communicating with each other, and then communicating also with the folks at the county and the state, so they know what local assets we have, because like I said, it's a cooperative effort. So the business community's been pretty good.
Wonderful. Again, not surprising, you know, with South Brunswick, it's really a wonderful community and we're really blessed. Another question that came in was on the real ID. And we're supposed to, I think we were supposed to get the new driver's licenses by October 31st in order for us to travel. I think that deadline's been extended, but can you confirm that for us, Chief?
Yes, it has been extended. You can go to the DMV website for the details, but also like people are panicking over that. If you have a passport, you don't need the real ID.
Exactly. Yeah, just to interject, I got the application to renew my driver's license in the mail, and they encouraged me just to sign it and send it back. I won't get a real ID driver's license, but I have a passport. So if I want to take a plane to Dubuque, I'll have to bring my passport with me. That's all.
Got it. All right. We'll take a few more minutes. We'll kind of wrap this up. But one question that I wanted to ask each of you, Mayor and Chief, is not tied to COVID, but can you share what's your favorite South Brunswick moment? Is there one that comes to mind that you want to share with the community right now?
The moment I met Imam Shabli.
God bless you. God bless you. God bless you.
I have a question for the Imam and the Chief. I know, Chief, when did you start working for the town?
I started September 1st, 1989.
Imam?
I have two experiences with South Brunswick. As Brother Arif said, I came 1983.
Oh, so you're older. Okay. You're both handsome men.
I came just for a grand opening of ISCJ when we have the multi-purpose room only.
Mm-hmm.
Before we have all this 17-acre land, I attend the meeting. We have a nice dinner. Then I went back to New Orleans, Louisiana. Then 1986, early 1985, late 85, they invite me to be the imam, and we have good experience with the previous chief of the police. You know, he was in the same seat, our chief. And one thing about the best moment of South Brunswick Chief Police, his daughter was in Australia, and ISCJ invited him for the dinner after he finished his term, before he went to Trenton. And he was crying as a baby. Tell him that in ISCJ, when we have the dinner for him, he said, ISCJ is the only group or house of God invite me for dinner after all those years I have been serving, and I know Imam Shibli, I know ISCJ. Really, Mr. Mayor, your smile give my good day today, and we have to remember the good thing, regardless of the bad thing. We live in Corona. We have to remember the good thing, as Brother Av said, and thank you for all your service.
Yeah, and there's a lot more good days than bad days.
Absolutely. Chief, a favorite South Brunswick moment?
I got to tell you, there's been a lot of them. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll tell you one yesterday. You know, we have a lot of community support. All the retired officers lined up and applauded our officers yesterday for everything we're doing. But I could tell you a reoccurring moment. One of my favorite things is National Night Out. All the community come out, and you know, we have tremendous support in the community as a police department. And not every department has that. For a couple of years, a lot of departments were taking a lot of backlash and still work. We really did not experience that, because over the years, we've developed these relationships. And I firmly believe the time to develop relationships and friendships is before something bad happens or a crisis. And I think that's why things are bad right now. That's just reality, but things are bad, but they're going good because we have the community support. When we do put a Nixle message out, people are listening to us. They're complying. It's outstanding. Hey, I'm going to bring the deputy chief in. Whenever I want to say hello to the deputy chief, he's here.
Absolutely. Deputy Chief, let's see you.
He was just
How
at
are
a
you?
meeting.
We were on a conference call with EMS.
All right. Anything new? Any late breaking news you want to give this audience before we get it to Nixle?
The Yankees are not going to win the pennant.
No.
That was uncalled for. Come on. We got a lot of Yankee fans.
Thank you for all the support.
No, we really appreciate everything.
Ask him what
that you
his favorite moment was in South Brunswick. He's got a lot of them.
All right. What's the favorite South Brunswick moment?
Actually, there was a really good moment right before everything started. March 10th of the basketball game when they won with 1 second left. Everyone stormed the court. It was what a community feel that was right before everything happened.
Deputy Chief, can you lower your head so we can see you, so everybody can see your shiny face?
How are you?
There you go. Chief Ryan, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Good to see you. So can you just repeat what the favorite moment was again? South Brunswick?
March 10th, like around 6:30 in the evening before everything happened, there was a state basketball championship game. And with less than 1 second to go, they scored to win. And all the South Brunswick fans stormed on the Marlboro court. They were jumping all over each other.
Oh yeah, that was crazy. Yeah, I heard about that. That was bonkers. Yeah, unbelievable. Yeah, that's a great moment. And I think, there's just so many great moments. I know I asked you guys for one favorite moment, but obviously all of us have so many different favorite moments. And I think that's why people keep moving into South Brunswick, and that's why people stay in South Brunswick. People don't leave South Brunswick. It's such a wonderful variety of things here that are beneficial and that people just love to be in South Brunswick. And, you guys are one of many reasons why, the ISCJ community, all the faith communities are just, blessed to be part of South Brunswick. So thank you very much. We've taken up a lot of your time. Community, thank you for participating. Before we close this out, Jim, stick around. It's fine. It's all right.
I'm going to change his
Go
jacket.
for dinner.
We want to see the interlocking NY. I missed that.
Yankees, yeah.
Yeah, we want to see the Yankees too. Yeah.
There we go. But so before we end this, all our sessions that we do with Imam Shibli, we always close in prayer. And we also want to make prayer for the people that passed away this week that, that you guys announced. So Imam, before I give it to you again, there was a lot of takeaways. Again, we want to thank the chief. We want to thank the mayor. We want to thank everyone. And remember, everyone, sign up for the Nixle. Go to nixle.com, nixle.com. Look up South Brunswick and sign up there for the alerts, and you'll see what's going on. And all the information gets pushed to you, along with other stuff. So, but for now, Imam Shibli, I'll give you the floor. If you can close out this session on behalf of the community with a prayer and some closing remarks and words. Thank you.
You are welcome. First of all, before we do the prayer, I like to extend again my word of thanks to our mayor, our chief, the deputy chief, everybody serving us, and the people we did not mention their name. It doesn't happen in other countries or maybe other, I'm not sure, say in the United States it's happened. The people who work on the street every morning to collect our recycle and our garbage. God forbid, if this will be left on the street, our life will be miserable. We like to thank all the people who are serving us from top to bottom, and God bless all of them. Secondly, Brother Arif, between you and the mayor and the chief, why they maybe communicate with you privately, what kind of donation from the food to the money to other things they can communicate with you person to person and bring it to ISCJ people. We have a doctor, we have a nurse, we have imam, we have people. They can donate to their township or maybe from other things. And finally, the prayer is not only for Muslim or a Christian or Jews who believe in God, but for all the human beings, include the animal, include the bird, which I see them in my backyard when I try to clean my leaf every morning. This is the creation of God. We have to pray to give us a good time. We have to pray to take this kind of disease away from our heart, away from our body. And the only savior will save us, as I believe, as my friend in the South, Brunswick Clergy Association, appreciate all the meeting we have it under the leadership of the mayor and the chief when we have the Thanksgiving. I pray on the behalf of all of them to pray to God who created us to protect us in this life in the hereafter. And Islamically, for the mayor and the chief, they were in many times in the masjid. We read some verse from the Holy Book as the Quran. You can click on your website now to know the meaning of this prayer. It is chapter 1 from the Quran. We call it the mother of the book, and we call it Surah Al-Fatiha. And here for my Muslim brother and sister, include the kids, sister, brother, everybody, let us open our heart and open our hand and recite Surah Al-Fatiha, chapter 1 from the Quran Kareem in Arabic, just to ask God to protect us in this time. And I hope He will give us a better time after this will be end, inshallah soon. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الرحمن الرحيم. مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. آمين. صدق الله العظيم. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.
Thank you, Imam Shibli. Thank you, Chief Ray Hayducka, and thank you, Mayor Charlie. Everyone have a great night. Good night.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Elbow bump.
There you go. All right. Take care, everyone.
Take care.